5 huge reasons why EVs depreciate extremely fast. We're not arguing that EVs is a bad investment because of their lack of convenience, range anxiety, or other comparable issues. No, we do not mean it. According to the most recent study, the average electric vehicle will lose half of its value in 5 years. If you're wondering why, stick around because we'll give you 5 compelling explanations for why EVs lose value so quickly. Battery issues come in at number 5. Naturally, the first thing that springs to mind is the battery. This valuable part is worth up to 50% of the total cost of an electric car. In addition, because it ages and loses capacity, it's the component of the car that is most susceptible to damage. In other words, for someone shopping for a used electric vehicle, this implies that replacing the battery would ultimately become necessary and might result in an expense of $10,000, $20,000, or even more. The primary problem in this case is that the battery is primarily made up of chemicals, which tend to deteriorate with time for a variety of reasons. Most manufacturers offer an 8 to 10-year warranty on their batteries because they have a limited lifespan, but you never know when you'll need to replace them. When buying a used EV, it can arrive sooner than you want or take a lot longer, which is very problematic. Put otherwise, evaluating EVs is exceedingly complex. It's not too difficult to assess the condition of a used gas-powered vehicle by looking for leaks in the engine, suspension, brakes, and bodywork. You may thus be quite certain that you're purchasing a second-hand car in good condition if everything goes according to plan during the test drive. There's always the service book to refer to when it comes to additional services like oil changes. It is impossible to check the battery on an electric vehicle, EV. Not only is the battery management system rather unreliable, but it doesn't tell much either. Nor will an OBD reader be of any assistance to you. As a result, it's nearly hard to determine the battery's true condition, especially in light of the numerous external variables that affect degeneration. Consider the extremes of the outdoor temperature as well as the high current used for charging and discharging. Lastly, keep in mind factors like over-discharge and overcharge. None of these components can be examined in the same way as gas-powered cars' oil change intervals and other components can. It's just that there are too many unanswered questions. Therefore, it is not surprising that few prospective buyers are willing to consider the possibility that they will need to spend hundreds of dollars on a used automobile to install a new battery. As a result, this stands to be one of the main causes of the high depreciation rate. Fourth, significant savings on brand new electric vehicles. The used automobile market is always determined by new car prices, and EV prices are no exception. The only issue is that EVs are becoming more affordable annually as a result of significant discounts. Just consider the most recent pricing battle which erupted in the third quarter of the previous year. Massive discounts are being offered by Tesla, Ford, and other manufacturers on their new electric vehicles, EVs, which can now be purchased for 10, 20, or even 30% less than they were just a year ago. To put it plainly, dealers are stuck with little choice because supply greatly outpaces demand. Dealer lots are filled and current inventory sells out in an average of 117 days, far longer than the industry norm. Because of all of this, new EVs are a far better option than used ones. Given these conditions, it is not surprising that used EVs lose value even more quickly because there aren't many potential purchasers. They now correlate to these updated values once paid, which further raises the depreciation rate. In extreme circumstances, EVs might lose 50% of their value in just 3 years. Luxury versions are especially vulnerable to this phenomenon. Consider a couple of Porsche Taycan cars that are being offered for sale. One of them, a 2020 Turbo with less than 15,000 miles on it, is currently listed for $89,999, despite having an MSRP of $179,600 at launch. That is an $89,300 decrease. Alternatively, you may look at a 2020 Turbo S that is now listed for $105,900 and has 2,635 kilometers on it. In 2020, the model was paid over $27,000, which indicates that in just 4 years it already lost over $100,000 of its initial worth. Gas-powered cars typically lose about 38% of their value after 5 years, whereas electric vehicles, EVs, have an average depreciation rate of almost 50% over the same period. Models such as the Tesla Model S have a depreciation rate as high as 55%. The third is significant operating expenses. We've been hearing for years that the main benefit of electric vehicles, EVs, over internal combustion engines is reduced operating expenses. Theoretically, gas-powered cars should cost more to operate than electric vehicles. To start with, electricity needs to be less expensive than gas. The issue of maintenance also arises because EVs don't need traditional maintenance services like oil changes. Finally, because they have fewer parts than internal combustion vehicles, EVs ought to be more dependable. Reality, however, indicates that the situation is completely different. First off, if you just charge your electric car at home, which is nearly impossible, the cost of charging an EV may be less than that of a gas-powered vehicle. EV owners must occasionally utilize public charging stations, where electricity is anything but inexpensive, especially if you're prepared to use a DC unit and shorten the charging time. When compared to gas station refilling, the expense is essentially the same and occasionally even greater in such a scenario. There are no fluid changes required for maintenance, but repairs are far more costly, particularly for body parts damaged in collisions due to the unique design of electric vehicles, as well as a shortage of skilled labor. Because of this, insurance premiums are also noticeably higher, increasing operating expenses and contributing to the overall degradation of value. We nearly overlook the tires as well, because EVs are heavier than conventional cars. Expect to replace your EV's tires more frequently. Low reliability scores come in second. When purchasing a used car, most buyers are looking for something sturdy and dependable. This explains why vehicles made by automakers such as Toyota have such high value retention. Although strong dependability ratings were also anticipated for EVs, the reality was somewhat different. EVs are less dependable even if they have fewer parts. For a variety of reasons, naturally they result in 80% more issues than conventional gas-powered cars, per a recent Consumer Reports poll. The battery's performance is the subject of the majority of complaints. Nearly all EV models have charging problems at some point. And then there's the issue of battery life. Batteries frequently lose their capacity far more quickly. Furthermore, the underperformance of batteries can occur for several reasons, such as extreme cold, overuse, etc. In addition, there's the issue of electric motors that perform poorly, as demonstrated by the Mustang Mach-E, for instance, and overheating. However, that is merely a portion of the issue. Electric cars are marketed as the automobiles of the future, despite their simpler overall designs. Almost all automakers seek to highlight the futuristic elements of their models, such as how much they rely on technological capabilities, particularly in the infotainment system. In electric vehicles, EVs, physical buttons and controls are virtually non-existent. Additionally, these intricate infotainment systems are incredibly prone to mistakes and malfunctions, to the point that even the smallest issue can render the car unusable. In conclusion, although not the only problems, battery and infotainment problems are the most frequent. Another common grievance among customers is the build quality. Put plainly, automakers are using every measure to reduce production costs, even if it means sacrificing quality control. Something like poorly put together body panels and malfunctioning inner parts are just a few examples. First, EVs soon become outmoded. The previous several years have seen a surge in the EV business, not so much in terms of sales volume as in terms of technological advancement. Certain models that were released only a few years ago already appear antiquated. Every so often, a new and innovative technology is introduced by a different automaker. In particular, battery technology is being discussed here. What's competitive now will seem antiquated in a few years. Manufacturers are continuously pushing the boundaries of maximum range and charging speed, which are becoming big turnoffs for a lot of prospective EV purchasers. Under these conditions, EVs deteriorate at an accelerated rate by nature. Many people question whether buying an electric vehicle, EV, that is already a few years old, somewhat antiquated, and may seem archaic in a few years makes sense. That's one of the primary causes of EV depreciation, which will continue to increase as technology develops. Super luxurious EVs that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars will probably be worthless in a few years, so no one will want to purchase them. For obvious reasons, the situation will only worsen. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you later. Did you like it? Tell us what you think of the video in the comments section below, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more interesting videos.